Welcome to the Black and White History Podcast. John Adams, kind of take two.
Yes, it is a Black and White History Podcast, and you caught us in the middle of our discussion of John Adams. So we're gonna talk about John Adams. You caught us talking about John. We were talking about John Adams and kind of how he's not my favorite president. He was a short, little, nerdy Harvard lawyer from Boston, and kind of made a massive unconstitutional, like, make fun of me and go to jail type thing, which I'm not cool with. But we were discussing how, what's the word you used for him?
Based.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of based by principle, not by his presidency, not by his legislature.
No. So, and I'd have to concede that as a man of principle, like, I'm gonna do what I think is right. I don't care how popular or unpopular it is. I believe this is right, and that's what we're gonna do. Like, that's been his story since before the revolution, through his presidency, and then even John Quincy Adams. Like, that's just the Adams family legacy, is that we're gonna do what's right, even though it's unpopular. And I think that is like a core piece of, like, the American culture. It's like, it's hard, it's not popular, but it's right, so we're gonna do it because it's right. And but it was super unpopular and super illegal and not good.
So then,
well, I guess it was legal. He made it legal, but
that's true.
But it wasn't right.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. He made it something not right legal, but we also have a history of doing that too. So
should we take this from all the bad stuff with him first, and then some of the good stuff?
I mean, so Adams is the second president. Mm-hmm. Washington serves 2 terms. He rides off into the sunset. He gets his sniffles and dies. And then Adams is... So everyone's like, goodbye, George. We've loved you the whole time. Ignore how much we wanted to fire you during the Revolutionary War. We've always loved you. We've always supported you. And then everyone turns and looks at dumpy John Adams like, all right, now what, nerd? He's like, we shouldn't go to war. And they're like, boo, we love war. Not really. But they just said boo. They just reflexively booed him. And they're like, oh, he's kind of right. But boo, John.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it was pretty, if we're going to talk about the war side of things, so obviously, the British and France are at war. France is kind of going through their own revolution, basically.
Yeah.
And there's kind of this, I don't know how else to say it, but an expectation, I guess, where France is like, hey, remember when we, helped you win your own revolutionary war? Well, we have our own revolution, so you guys should, forecast something.
Yeah, and fair point. And Washington and then Adams are like, yeah, I got nothing. Also, we're our own country now, and we don't want anything to do with your, like, you call this a new war, but you've been at war for, like, pretty much as long as you've been England and France. So we're kind of out of this whole deal. And France is none too pleased with that.
Well, part of it, too, is Washington, he signed what was known as the Jay Treaty.
Mm-hmm.
And so which was like kind of a truce between America and Britain. Like, okay, like, you stay over here, we'll stay in our yard, and we just, like, won't interfere. But then you have France, who's like, whoa, what the heck? Like, but now we're fighting the British.
We want you to interfere.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to.
And so I feel like it was kind of, it was more dumped on John Adams in the sense of things were so heated up by the time he became president. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, okay, well, what do we do? And so, I don't know. Should we get into the XYZ affair a little bit?
Yeah. So, which is a shame, because John Adams was known for being, like, a very skilled diplomat. He was, kind of, along with Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin was kind of the guy, but John Adams was, like, a prominent diplomat, well respected with England, had good relations with France. Then he becomes president, and they're trying to work out, like, how Americans are sending diplomats to France, while France is kind of pissy with us because we're like, we don't want to support you in the war, but we do want to have some kind of relation. Like, what are we going to do? And the French are like, all right, we're not going to let you in the door unless you, like, pay us, which is
like a
massive snub.
Well, and just a whole bribery.
Yeah, you
itself.
can't. You can't bribe me. Like, do you? It's insulting on many levels. Just like two sovereign nations, like historically, traditionally, should be able to talk to one another and not have to like pay for the privilege of diplomacy. Like that's the whole point of diplomacy is you don't have to pay for it. You just talk. And you think so little of us that we would consider paying you to talk to you, and that's not good.
Yeah. So I think the idea was Federalists were wanted to stay out of the war.
John Adams was a Federalist.
Was a Federalist, yeah. The Democratic Republicans, like kind of forming,
like Jefferson.
Yeah. So
who was his vice president?
Right. Wanted to go to war, and so it was already North and South. North versus South was like literally every issue.
Yeah. More like cities versus country.
Sure, yeah, that's fair.
Urban and rural, North and South. It's always been that way, but that was the primary motivator. And Jefferson specifically always loved the French because they were always ready for like a revolution. They were always ready to chop someone's head off. And Jefferson's like, I'm down with that. And
also just the fact that he went to France to get the aid from them to assist us in winning the Revolutionary War in itself. So, like I said, this is kind of dumped on him, or at least it's maybe not intentionally, but it's just the natural course of.
Yeah, he got past the hot potato, and I don't know how you play hot potato. Is there music involved? No, that's musical chairs.
Yeah,
he's past the hot potato until someone drops it.
Sure, yeah.
I think that's what it is. So John...
He fumbled.
Yeah, John got past the hot potato, and since he was so nerdy and dumpy, he dropped it. And then it pissed a lot of people off.
Well, yeah, and I think part of the problem also is, so this whole bribery thing happens. Oh, you can't talk to the Prime Minister Talleyrand, unless, you give us these bribes. And so they did. And so they're like, okay, fine, you can come on in and talk to our prime minister. Then that lasts about 15 minutes. And then he's like, okay, yeah, we're done. So they have to sail all the way back. So accomplish nothing. And so not Jefferson, Adams' idea was like, well, I'm just going to tell all of Congress that this happened, try to make France look bad about it. And all it did was just heat up tensions.
So you paid them and got nothing?
Yeah. And then the Federalists are like, oh my gosh, France is going to invade because you just pissed them off. So he kind of just... I don't know, booked himself into a corner.
Yeah, he made that incident probably made him a one-term president, and then he did the Alien and Sedition Acts, which that was, and even still it was close. It was close, but he was not popular
with the re-election.
Yes,
I mean he technically got third place.
Sure.
We'll definitely get into that.
By like what, 2 votes?
Yeah, a few votes. Yeah.
A literal few votes.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically, like I really wasn't expecting just to like dump on them.
That's okay. I'm doing it for you. Yeah. And again, I have to separate like from the context of knowing like the trend line of history and how we view the Constitution now versus the Constitution is literally less than like 10 or 12 years old at this point. And
yeah, a lot of things are still being defined.
They're still being defined. They're still being argued over. Like the Constitution's ratified, but we don't know what that means in practice. And so like anytime something is brought up, we're like, who gets to do that? And then someone just sort of does it and they're like, I guess you can do that now. And that's like a theme throughout, Adams and then Jefferson. And I mean, honestly, kind of till even still now.
Sure. I mean,
so we never really stopped, but it's really, So we dump on him, but Adams was a good man. He was a principled man. He was trying to, like, even the XYZ affair, he's like, I have to tell you guys what happened. Like, this is what we did. And yes, we paid the bribes. And yes, we got nothing out of it. And yes, France is very upset with us. But I'm telling you because I'm a public servant. I have to tell you it's public money, blah, 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 all that stuff. This is the principle. I'm going to follow it. And he shot himself in the foot. And I guess that's what happened.
It seems like, because whenever there's politics, you have, your beliefs, but in order for you to be successful in politics, for better or for worse, you have to like move in the middle in certain areas and like literally play politics on certain things. And so when you have someone like John Adams, who is just so stubbornly principled and like, to the point where he was like the most radical politician in terms of even like slavery, of just how anti-slavery he was. And just so like we'll get into the Alien Sedition Act, but putting that in place and like the quasi war now with France going on, it's just kind of like he's just like so stubbornly principled that it ended up kind of being his biggest enemy was himself. Yeah. Like he couldn't get out of his own way.
Yeah. And you say like to be in politics, you kind of have to ride the middle and like figure out where you can make compromises. And I would say in general, that's true. But we also like, I like to think of John Adams not as a politician, but as a statesman. And so a statesman is more like, I'm going to tell you, the people who vote for me, this is what I believe in. And if you vote for me, I'm going to follow these principles. And like in modern times, we're like, okay, you say that in the primaries to get in, and then you kind of soften, and we expect that. John Adams just didn't do that. And like, that's more of a statesman, like an idealist, a principled person. And it's admirable, and people supported him because you knew what you were getting with him. Like, he wasn't sleazy. He wasn't trying to pull one over on anyone. What you see is what you get. At least he's honest, basically. At least he's honest. He's consistent. He's a man I can have a beer with because he's a straight shooter. And you have to give him points for that. Like, we wish that people, like politicians, were more like that. Like, you say this, you're going to do this, for good or for bad. That's not really how it is. And, I don't know if that's how politics, if it was ever like staunch ideological standpoints, like, yes, that's how we win, or if it was always some kind of thing in the middle. It had to be something in the middle. Most people are not so idealistic that they would almost intentionally lose to stick to their principles. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously he didn't want to lose, but he was willing to lose and look bad to stay in line with his principles. You have to respect it.
Right.
As a man based, as a politician, suck.
Okay, well, speaking of that, let's get to the Alien Sedition Act.
Yeah.
And then
it sounds creepy.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound good. They had to put this on his desk like, John, do you want to sign the Alien and Sedition Act? What does it do? If you make fun of the government or you make fun of me, you go to jail.
Yeah, so basically this all connected with France and everything. Mm-hmm. They have this whole you have like half the country basically is like so for going to war, at least on like France's side on this whole
supporting
thing.
France in varying shades, like, hey, we're going to give them money, we're going to give them
they
troops.
helped us, so we need to give back, so you kind of understand the purpose, even though it's like this country's technically now only 4 or 5 years old, or I guess it'd be like 9-10 years old,
because we don't have any money.
Yeah, there's no money, so
what do we got? Get it to them. We don't have any. We need roads.
Because things were so heated between all that, you have a lot of paranoia, I think, kind of starting to rumble like in his head on it. And so again, new nation, he really wanted the presidency to be more of like, to mirror like a monarchy and everything. We can get into him and Jefferson's relationship and him as vice president, George Washington soon. But basically, a lot of paranoia. And so he's thinking, okay, well, let's see, we really need to stand united through this. And so the only way we can do that is we have to fine and jail people who speak out against the government, meaning speak out in favor of France. And so he signs the Alien and Sedition Acts.
And mind you, there's not just like Americans who support this. There's a whole lot of French people in the U.S. at this point. And, they're rabble rousing, and French diplomats have been knocking on the door since Washington was president, like, hey, we helped you, you got to help us. And Washington's like, absolutely not. And then they come to Adams, he's like, nope, absolutely not. And so they go to the people and they start rallying support, and they're like, we're going to get some of your people just come over to France and help us. And there's like, that's too crazy. So like, from that standpoint of like, it'd be like if Canada came down to Seattle and was like, hey, you want to come hang out and you want to be Mounties? You want to join the mounted police? And like, yeah, totally. We're going to become Canadians now and help the Canadians. It's like, no, you're Americans. You help our country. You live here. And obviously, like again, from the context of like, you can't do that. That's like the First Amendment to the Constitution is you can say what you want about the government can't punish you for it. That's like number one thing. And I'm just like, yeah, I can read. I was there when that was, do not quote the Constitution to me. I was there when it was written. But we are less than 10 years old. And if other countries come in and start peeling off our citizens, and other countries can have such a direct influence on what our government does, then we might as well be colonies of France. If they can just come in and demand stuff from us and rally our people and get us to do stuff that we don't want to do as the elected leaders, then we're not really even a country. So, and like, this wasn't just like, hey, they're handing out leaflets. Like, this is a serious problem. And I mean, I get the logic. I get the principle in his head. And also, like, no one wants to have people mad at you. Like, he is just a man. And if it's like half the people hate you, John, and they want to leave your country and help another country, even though you're telling them no, like, it's gotta mess with you. I get it. It was not the right move. It did basically the opposite. It kind of started a quasi war.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if, I mean, I guess that's probably that alone cost him the election.
Yeah. It gave Jefferson a massive talking point.
Yeah, you have, well, hold on. Yeah, speaking of Thomas Jefferson.
I just keep bringing Tommy J.
We have, our next episode.
Can we just talk about Thomas right now, please? I just love Thomas. Please, let's talk about Thomas.
Did you said you rewatched some of the clips from the John Adams HBO show, which, and watching this,
it's a great show. It's a great show. Very well done. Yeah. And it's
on
very,
Max.
Yes. And it's very historically accurate.
Yeah. Did you see one of the clips about the Alien Sedition Acts where him and Thomas are like eating dinner?
Probably.
Okay.
I remember
it's like one of the best scenes in the entire.
Well, I remember the one where like Adams and Jefferson are talking, and he's like, "I thought you said that you were always going to be my friend," and Jefferson's like, "I am your friend," and then Adams says, "Yeah, I have your friendship, but I don't have your support," and Jefferson's like, "I don't agree with you. I don't support that. I'm your friend, but I don't." Jefferson was a little more catty than that, like in general, but yeah, it's hard. Like, I know it's the next episode. So Jefferson and Adams were like best buds. They were like super good friends. They were like, they respected each other. They disagreed politely on like federalism versus states' rights. They disagreed on that, like on principle, but they were cordial generally. And now, so Adams is Washington's vice president. And then Adams becomes president and Jefferson becomes Adams' vice president. And now they're going to run against each other. And Adams is doing all these things that Jefferson really doesn't agree with. And he's trying to get him to not do it. And he's kind of trying to undermine him while in office. And so the friendship kind of breaks apart and sets up a really nasty like election where like just some wild stuff is said between people who were very, very good friends. But yeah, we'll talk more about that.
I mean, it's the idea of you have a Federalist who's obviously strong federal government, and then you have Thomas Jefferson who's Democratic Republican, way more on states' rights, wants like a super weak federal government. And so the fact that they were kind of really close friends at all is kind of crazy. They were gentlemen. Right.
They respected each other, but they were basically polar opposites. And that was a big flaw of like the president vice president system in the early days of the presidency, because like, yeah, you're my second in command, but you really disagree with everything that I'm trying to do, and like you have no incentives to support me, so we're not unified, and I always have to fight you, and you have people who work for you and my cabinet, and like we're trying to be equal and like have everybody in and not like pack the room with yes men, but also we can't get anything done because you're fighting me the whole time. So it's a good idea in principle, but in execution, like peopleness get in the way of like the mission.
Well, especially it's weird because at that time too, it was the vice president was an elected position. It wasn't like now where you pick your you pick your running mate. And so when you have Thomas Jefferson, which maybe he would have picked him anyway because there was a lot of things, especially back then, where it's like you want to pick the opposite party to like balance the ticket, kind of thing, which isn't really as much of a thing now.
No, because you want to get in votes.
And so he may have picked him as his as his VP. But obviously, I don't know, when there's just so much, it's kind of like everyone's friends until there's a huge plate of money on the table.
Yeah.
And then,
Until the supreme executive authority over a brand new country where you can do basically anything and like fulfill your wildest ideological dreams. Like, yeah, we can talk about what we would do if such an unlikely scenario were to occur. And now it occurs is like, I'm doing my plan because it's better and it's always been better. And you know it's always better, so I don't care. And it's hard.
Yeah. Well, there's some things Adams did wrong. Is there anything he did that was positive? I have one note.
What did he do that was positive? When he lost. He lost to Jefferson, and it was a peaceful transition of power to the opposition party. So, again, like this is the third time we've ever done this, and everyone loved Washington. Most people liked Adams, and Adams-Jefferson election was very contentious and very, very close. And so it was like not clear cut that the people wanted one over the other. Like you could have made a case like, no, and the slaves counted for votes and slaves are bad. Slaves are bad. Slavery is bad. And like you could have made the case, but Adams was like, no, principle. I lost. You get to be president now, but we're not friends.
Yeah. It was the first time a president didn't show up to the inauguration.
Yeah. Petty.
Yeah.
He nerd rage. He's like, I'm not going to party.
Well, speaking of the slavery thing, I do have one note.
So he did bring up slavery.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that?
I don't know. It's almost like it was a big issue.
It was like I don't know. I don't think it was that big of an issue.
Well, we'll see you when we do the Lincoln episode then.
Yeah. Saying of ideology and breaking laws and doing unpopular things because it's the right thing to do.
All right, well, we'll get to there.
Yes.
We'll get to that when we get there.
Okay. I just want to get through the early presidents. Right. The early presidents are so hard because they're basically just dudes. They're just dudes who were who they were, and they didn't know what the presidency was supposed to be. So we couldn't be like, well, he doesn't seem presidential because we didn't know what that was. So it's like, you seem like a smart, capable dude. Put him in there. And he's like, I believe this. And I'm like, no, get a different guy. I believe this. No, we need parties and this is what the president should do, and it morphs over time. But like Washington, Adams, Jefferson, it was a big question mark as to what a president was even supposed to do or able to do. Mm-hmm. And they kind of set the tone. So you can't really fault them for not being presidential or like exceeding their authority, because it was just such a crazy time, and you kind of had to do what you had to do at the time to make it work. So
Well, speaking of that, in 1800, he did sign the slave trade agreement law that basically made it illegal to trade slaves with other countries. Mm-hmm. So you can already kind of start to see the push for emancipation, basically. And so you're, I guess this would be like about 10 years in, and we're already starting to see that kind of come to fruition a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that kind of gets overlooked, obviously, with a lot of the bad. Yeah. But other than that, the only other thing I have is, he formed the Navy.
Hooray!
So that was because of the Quasi war with France and everything.
Hey guys, we don't have a Navy, and the only other Navy bigger than France is, well, maybe Spain, but definitely Britain.
Sure, yeah.
So, and I have roundly upset them, so we probably need ships with guns on them.
So, hey, I mean...
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's got to count for something.
It does. It does. Good job, John. You did it.
I mean, this is kind of something pre-presidential, but I know we talked in the Revolution episode and stuff, but just his role in the Boston Massacre. Mm-hmm. I know I'm kind of like fishing for positives, but honestly, that was kind of, as obviously with him being so principled, him aligning with the British during that, knowing that the Boston Massacre wasn't actually what it was, what the media and everything at that time made it out to be. Mm-hmm. And so there's another thing.
Maybe the thing that happened 15 years before he was president. That was good.
Well, let's see. I mean, how old? He was almost like 90 when he died. Yeah. And he had, out of 90 years, he was president for 4 years. Yeah. And so judge him.
Look at what a man can do in 4 years. No, I think honestly and truly, I would have liked John Adams. I think John Adams is a good man, a good person. not my favorite president, but also living in the context of what even is a good or bad president. So yeah, he's just a man kind of in a vacuum who's been given the keys to this brand new country and is told to like, okay, diplomatize with the world and prevent everyone from dying. Go. I don't know. All I got is the best ideas I have and the conviction that I think that it's right.
Well, do you think, I wonder if part of that might be, I wonder how much that was influenced because of just how useless the vice presidency was when he was VP for George Washington. If it was like he had to try to make up for lost time.
Maybe.
Because basically, you know, you have, like I said, the vice presidency was actually like a voted in position and everything. And so he wins it thinking like, oh, okay, he's right up there with Washington. And then I guess George like kind of foresaw, you know, the inner demons, I guess, with John Adams. And so George had like no, like, he just didn't want anything to do with him. Listen,
John, you're the vice president, but I'm George Washington. So you sit over there.
Right, literally, yeah. I mean, just like, okay, we're gonna have this meeting on how to figure out what a cabinet is.
I have an idea.
Yeah, if you want to go wait out there.
Dinner's at 6, John.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, George. I love being vice president.
So, yeah, I know he had a lot of resentment over that. So if it was like, he was just, you know, just in his hole, like waiting for his moment, and he thought he had it with the vice presidency, and then it didn't end up. He spent 8 years with that not turning in anything, and it was like, okay, now here's my time. He has a really close election with Thomas Jefferson, and then Thomas Jefferson becomes his VP. But at first they were actually it was the first actual, because George, he ran unopposed, so it was the first presidential actual like election, and so since he barely squeaked by on that, it was kind of like, okay, here we go. Like, and like I said,
it's Johnny time.
Yeah, I think he wanted the presidency to be more than what it actually was created to be.
Yeah.
And so that's, like I said, way more in favor of monarchy. I mean, he didn't even want it to be called the president because the president name was such like a humble, you know, we've talked about that before. So he was kind of more, it should be like, you know, the highest majesty, blah, 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 you know, kind of thing. And so he just kind of immediately just didn't fit in with anyone.
You think about it in context too, like he spent a lot of his like working time and working life like around kings and around royalty and around monarchies. Like they were British. So like versus someone like Thomas Jefferson, who had, you know, he did spend some time doing diplomacy. He was Secretary of State, but like just like their context of like what leadership looks like is like, oh, the best, most successful leaders I know are monarchs. The empires that have lasted forever are all monarchs. So we need to be kind of like them in our own way, but kind of more like them than not. And I think too, as vice president, he had Hamilton and Jefferson, two really big, boisterous personalities, and he's kind of caught in the middle. And he's shunted to the side, so he doesn't have, like, he has a voice, but Washington's kind of sidelined him. Jefferson and Hamilton are kind of the biggest voices in the room. And so, like you said, he kind of was like, I'm tired of playing third fiddle to Jefferson and Hamilton and Washington. So I'm president now, and it's going to look like this. And it's kind of a perfect storm of events where he couldn't really do it. Or he did try to do it, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough being the first president. I mean, I guess, you know, technically he was the first president voted out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. He's first loser.
Yeah, the first loser.
First loser.
So he ends up spending much of his time afterwards, he just not really being a part of anything.
Crying mostly.
Yeah. So he goes back up to Massachusetts with Abigail and just basically is just a farmer.
Even his wife liked Thomas Jefferson more than
I know she did describe him as short, thick, and fat. So,
yeah, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. He's John Adams is a good man.
I mean, you can't fault him for trying.
I know, I don't. He did a better job than I would.
I think he's probably just better. You know, he went to school to be a lawyer.
Yeah,
he became a lawyer, got his bachelor's and everything when he was 23. So he's like just so like his genius was just like. President was just too much for like his brain to just handle.
Yeah. Broken his brain.
Yeah. So I think
turned him into a nerd rage.
him as part of the involvement with the Continental Congress and formation of the Constitution and aiding the Revolutionary War the way he did. Like, he's got a really good resume. But when it came to the most prestigious position that he could have, that he found himself in, it just all kind of didn't work out.
Yeah. And you think about it too, like, you mean he was trained as a lawyer? Lawyers argue. Yeah. Lawyers think they're right.
Right.
That's their job, is to believe I'm right and argue with anyone who says that I'm wrong. And that's not, the president's job is not to be right. His job is to facilitate the running of the whole country. So it is supposed to be like a middle of the road type of deal, versus even in the Continental Congress, I'm on Massachusetts side and everyone who disagrees with what Massachusetts wants is wrong, and I will fight. And like, he thrives in that adversarial environment. And then he brings that into the presidency, but the adversary is his own people. It's like so, it's, yeah.
Well,
are we done with John now?
Good old John.
Can we move to Thomas Jefferson now?
We'll be back with our next episode of Thomas Jefferson.
Don't sound so happy about that.
What?
I love TJ.
No, I
you just feel really bad for John.
I just feel more bad for John.
I feel bad for John.
Yeah.
Yeah. He tried.
Sure.
He tried.
All right. Anyway.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. On that downer, we have a more exciting, a more thrilling
topic. It's Tommy J Day.
So, all right. We'll see you guys next time.